What up, YouTube? Welcome back to the closet. Welcome back to the Christopher Moon channel. And today I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened to me once I went to jail for that second DUI. Well, what happened? I went to jail. But there was a couple of different options for me. So once I was going through the court and I was doing all this stuff, I was so scared. You know how you're feeling. You're feeling scared. You're feeling worried. You don't know what's going to happen. And that's the real thing that makes everybody the scaredest. It's just not the fear of the unknown. We don't know what's going to happen to us. But really, it's going to be just kind of like the first one you went through. That's what I found out. It was just the same annoyances, the same of the first, but just more intense. Like I had more classes to take, more everything, but I'll talk about that later. I want to talk about what it was like going through them doors and going to jail once I had to turn myself in. Because during my second DUI, part of the consequences was that, I had to do the bare minimum, the bottom level, because there's a range of punishments you can get. You can get, this is what you got to get for getting this the second time, or for committing whatever crime it is. You have to do this bare minimum of punishment. And that's what I got. And I think a lot of it was due to, some of the stuff I did during court and beforehand. I talked about that in another video. I don't know how to link, so, if you can find it, good. But I went to court, did all this stuff, and I was given these options, because there's different options you can take instead of just turn yourself in for, your time. And for the second one in the state of Colorado, I had to do 30 days. It was 30 days. And the different options we had were, just do your 30 days. There was what I did, the work release program, or weekend work release program, and I'll talk about that. There was two other things. Man, this isn't good at all. I can't remember what they were. But in Colorado, there was two other things. They were I remember one. One was the ankle monitor. There was like some kind of home detention, and it was like super expensive. I had to pay something for the weekend program too. Like everything that's not just go into jail, you're gonna have to pay. But normally that's okay, because you're doing these like secondary kind of jail things to keep a job, and that's very important. And the courts, they don't want you to lose your job. They want your money. They want your money. And that's kind of what I believe that the whole DUI things are. It's it's bad. We shouldn't do it. It gets us off the streets from maybe potentially committing another drunken crime, driving around or hurting somebody, which is very good. But really what I believe the DUIs are for, it's just to turn me, turn you, turn whoever they can get their hands on into a revenue stream. Because once you go through a DUI, it's pretty expensive, and it's pretty expensive for 3 to 5 years, or actually no, 2 to 5 years depending. But I'll talk about that later. I'll talk about now going to jail, because that was the big scary thing for me. Once I was going in. And from my experience, I had to go to Arapahoe County Detention Center, and it was kind of nice because in Colorado, in Denver, Aurora kind of area where I turned myself in, I was in Arapahoe County, so I got to go to the Arapahoe County Detention Center. And for those of you that don't know, the Arapahoe County Detention Center is right next to the Broncos Parkway, you know, whatever, their training camp. So you got like where the Broncos are training in this big, you know, grassy, you know, nice fields, and this like kind of weird tucked back area. And then you had the jail, and then you had, you know, all these like crazy little businesses around. So, you know, for my little times during the day, I could go play basketball with those flat basketballs in that pit, and you could like look up and see the grates in, you know, because you're underground once you're in Arapahoe. I was anyway. And you look up and you can see the light, you know, see the same skies that the Broncos see. That's pretty cool, right? Yeah, whatever. Hey, also once I was in there and you're looking up at that, they only open that room up to one group of the sexes. So boys are allowed in there, or girls are allowed in there. And there's like two little doors, and you know, they'd shut depending on who was allowed to come in and utilize the space. But they had these big windows, so like you could totally, like, all the girls were, you know, on one side and you could see the guys. It is weird, but it is what it is. It wasn't that bad. All right, so once I went in there, to this Broncos Stadium area jail. Yeah, it was a nice jail too. You know, as nice as they get, I'd say, but it was a newer one, so it wasn't like Denver or something that was like really gross. And I do want to, before I go any further, tell you guys, like, a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people don't know this, and they're really worried. Like, you're really worried with any of this jail talk, because like we really don't understand what jail is. There's two things. There's jail and there's prison. One of them's really scary, and one of them's jail. You know, scary stuff can happen in jail, but it's not going to happen. You don't have to worry about, you know, the things that you're worrying about. You know what you're worrying about and thinking of. I know, I was thinking and worrying about it too. It's not going to happen. Don't even worry about it, because jail is for everybody that is going through court. Jail is for everybody that has 1 year or less on their time on their books. And it's also for people that were in prison that have a year or more on their books, that have done different things, maybe a little stronger than a DUI, and they're in a prison. Now, they're locked down most of the day, and they can have a job, they can have little TVs, they can have stuff. They can have stuff, they can do stuff, they get commissary, they get things. And we did get a little commissary in the jailhouse, but it was, for my situation, it wasn't necessary. But now that that's kind of there, you know, the scary stuff, think more prison. Don't think jail. If you're doing less than a year, that scary stuff is not going to get you. Okay? Okay, good. So now that I got that cleaned up, let's go ahead and talk about my experience. So my experience once I went in, you know, it's kind of scary. You go through all these like big doors, and I did pay the extra money to do the weekend program. So once we all did the court thing, I ended up doing the weekend program for 30 days. And, you know, once you hear it, it sounds like a lot. Like, it sounded like they were going to, you know, I was going to be doing 2 days at a time for 30 days. You know, that's months and months of weekends just down the tube. Like, I was looking at like at least 6 months worth of weekends. Just work and go to jail, turn yourself in for jail, and then get out and go back to work. Now, if that's not a recipe for bad attitude, I don't know what is, but it actually worked different, to where it wasn't a recipe for bad attitude. It was a recipe for just gratitude. Just I was grateful to be out of there. Once I was happy to be at work, at the airport. You know, I was doing something back then, and just, you know, I was happy. with the situation, because I was thinking it was prison and I was going to go for like, a month of like brutal beatings and, whatever we think is going to happen once we go to prison. But that's not what happens in jail. Now, jail is, for me, it's a little bit more boring because you spend most of the time in your box. It's more of a 23 hours in your box and 1 hour of walking around, kind of exercise time. But with this program I was in, and I believe it was, I don't know, they charged me like a little bit to do the program, I think a couple $100, and then I believe it was something every time I was like in and out, but I just paid it at the end to just like be even, or maybe I paid it in the beginning. It wasn't a lot. It was not really a lot to do this program, and I didn't even care. Like, it could have been a lot, and I was just so scared at the time that I didn't give a shit. I was like, man, I'll pay whatever not to go in there and deal with whatever I got to deal with. But I kind of wish I just would have went in and did all the time at once with it, because it was so easy. So I went in, and it's freaky. You go through those big doors, they slide over, slide shut behind you. They take all your, well, they didn't take all my clothes and stuff. It was a little different for us weekenders. I went in and, they checked like your stuff, make sure you're not bringing in any contraband, bringing in stuff. Because I had a little backpack, and you got a locker. So it was real nice. It was with the trustees and the people getting ready to leave. And, we had 2 levels in our pod. There's 2 levels, the big common area at the bottom. But none of the cells were gated. They didn't have a door on them. They were all open. So it's like an open air kind of jail cell for all of us, everybody up in there. And we had one big shower room, bathrooms in the center. There's like a lunch room area, some BS TV, some like CNN or Oprah playing, whatever the heck it was. There was a cart out there with a ton of books, and I think I just grabbed and I was reading books once I was there, reading some Steinbeck or whatever that dude, the Grapes of Wrath. It's a good story. But you just read. I didn't do much. Like, everybody has cleaning duties and stuff that you're supposed to do in there too, and I didn't know. I just came in on Friday evenings, checked myself in, went to bed pretty much as soon as you get in, because you miss dinner, you miss everything. You wake up the next day, it's breakfast. You get the worst, like, coffee filtered through some dirty sock, and it's got 0 caffeine in it. That was the most disappointing thing about this whole endeavor, I'd say. That coffee that I had to drink, yuck. But then you get your shower, keep your shower shoes on. You don't want to get no athlete's foot, and I'd like shave and just get cleaned up, and it was so like laid back and chilling there, like that was really it. You were just sitting around killing time. Like, you become very in tune with yourself, because you are just killing time. And I had a little roommate too. I think his name was Justin or something. He was some kid that got in trouble for selling a bunch of ecstasy. I don't know. But he was a nice guy, nice enough. He wasn't really scary or anything. He was just a dude like me. Not even like me. He was like a younger dude, like a young person, Not very threatening, not very anything. I don't think anybody in there was very threatening. Like, there's some scarier looking dudes, but, you should know how to act around people. And like, if you don't know how to act and be in those situations, this isn't a channel to figure that out. Like, I'd go to like a Wes Weston or that Prison Gangs channel, or 23 and 1 Lockdown, or just any of these channels where these guys did real time in prison, and they've really turned their life around. But you don't need to worry about any of that stuff in jail. If you're on your second DUI, your first, your third, like whatever, and you're doing less than a year and you're going to jail, it's not going to be what you think. It's not going to be the prison that's pictured on television, you know? So let me get back with that. You know, I talked to this kid, Justin, I think, and we would just chit chat a little, and we'd go out and get our little bologna sandwiches and, you know, whatever. Once it was lunchtime, once it was dinner, at the end of the day, everybody'd grab a mop and stack chairs, clean everything up. So you're doing things. You're not completely bored. And if you don't want to do that, if you're on the weekend, that other guy, he just slept. He'd get in and he would sleep from pretty much the moment he clocked in to the moment he clocked out. And I did that one weekend too. It was nice. Like, you really recharge your batteries on that disgusting coffee. But I ended up going for 30 days, right? 30 days. I should be in there for, like, you know, a couple of months doing these 2-day stints. And what had happened was it was just so overpopulated, crowded, and like they just didn't care. Like, they didn't really give a shit. Once the judge and them gave him to the jail didn't care. They looked at me and they were like, this guy, like, you know, he's fine, he's good. And that's how they look at most people in there. If you're doing what you need to be doing. Now, if you're in jail and you're thinking it's prison and you're being loud and fighting and crazy and stuff, then yeah, you're gonna stay. You're gonna do the full 30. But listen to this. I did that first weekend and I was like, that wasn't that bad. And I did the second weekend and it was pretty much more of the same. And that really wasn't that bad. It just, you know, tedious because you're used to playing on the phone, playing a game, being outside, doing whatever it is you do, but now you can't. So that's just the most tedious part. It's just waiting that out. And, you know, you really get to know yourself. But most importantly, after I finished that second weekend, they told me that due to overcrowding and everything that I'm done. And they erased the rest of it. Good behavior. You were out of here, Chris. And I didn't have to worry about it again. And I had all that time off from work still. Everybody thinking I was going to be spending every weekend in there for a while. So I let them think that for a little bit. And I you know, took another couple of weekends off just to, you know, I was still getting my head right after all this. And like, just, you know, you need a little time to decompress because DUI suck. Like, they really come up out of nowhere and they wreak havoc upon every part of your life. And it's mostly a mental thing once you're going through it in the beginning. And then more towards the end, it's like a transportation and an annoyance thing. But, you know, in today's day and age, it's not even that big of a deal. You can get an Uber anywhere. You can get, and this is just more money. Like, that's why I believe these DUIs are just turning us into revenue streams for everybody. Mostly for the city you live in, but also for Uber, the Uber delivery services, whatever delivery services you have. But just stuff like that. Like, it's just going to be expensive. But it's not going to be that bad. You know, it's not going to be the end of the world for you. Not at all. Unless there's something else attached to those tickets. Something bad attached to those tickets. If it's not just a straight, you got pulled over drinking, I can't answer anything on anything else other than that. But I can tell you what I experienced, and hopefully I can give you a little hope, because it's not that bad. It really isn't. It's just like the first, but you got the blow machine, you got the pee test, you got it all, and you got a little bit more than you had the first time. So don't think it's the end, because it's not. It's just, It's just more bullshit you got to put up with. And you put yourself here. But, you know, we don't do these things on purpose. You're not a bad person. I'm not a bad person. We just don't think all the time, you know? And I don't see why they can give that to us and give you a ticket for something, you know, once you're not thinking. Well, I get it. I get it. But, you know, we really weren't thinking, you know? And we do have to pay for those consequences. But it doesn't make us bad people. It doesn't make any of us like bad, crazy, over the top, nothing. We're just people that make mistakes and we clean them up. We had them face on and we clean them up. And that's all there is to do. I mean, it's not hard. It's annoying. And there might be times it's hard, but it's gonna be good. I promise. Don't fret, don't worry. Worry as much as you need to. Don't worry any more than you need to worry, because it's just gonna make you feel gross for no reason. You don't need it. You really don't. Anyway, that's all I got for now. It's 20 minutes of me just fucking ranting about stuff. That's too much. But anyway, I love you guys. I hope you have a great day. And